You know how I stated in my final Girls review that it was a great deconstruction of the horror movie genre? Well, this film is literally a deconstruction of a slasher film note for note. Every cliche and scene you can remember from your favorite slasher films are shown here, broken down, and is backed up with a realistic explanation. It also treats Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Chucky, and Freddy Krueger like real serial killers, and all the characters and settings were real places and people. However, we are unsure what films are canon in this universe since every franchise has had retcons, tone shifts, and multiple timelines. It is really smart how this film is delivered. It really could have been another Scream, but it creates this lore that backs up all these fictional killers we know so much about, and it's actually pretty cool. So, this film is about a guy named Leslie Vernon, of course, who wants to be the next big serial killer like Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger. So, he has a film crew follow him around to document his rise to be the next big serial killer, documenting his plan and what it really takes to be one of the most feared killers in a small town. This was one of those smaller indie films that got a lot of positive reviews, but never really went anywhere, unfortunately. It has gained a teeny tiny cult following, but nothing ever came of it except a sequel stuck in development hell. Hopefully, this will get some of you to watch it. This was so interesting to watch. The character of Leslie Vernon was so intriguing. He seems like this normal guy with a bit of an edge, but nothing too out of the ordinary. The way he talks about murdering teenagers is just so casual and normal that you can't help but laugh. That is where a lot of the comedy comes from in this movie. Just deadpan conversations about murder and how everyone is kind of cool about it, even the documentary crew at times. Now, I've said documentary crew a few times, and it is very clear that this is indeed a found footage movie. Nowadays, that's a bad phrase to say since 90% of them suck balls. However, here it's well done and very smart. It's actually a mix of found footage and actual normal movie cameras. Not in the way of Diary of the Dead, though, where Romero was confused on how to do it and it didn't pay off in the end. Here, all the footage that needs to be shot is shot, and when the cameras aren't rolling, it becomes a normal movie. This is very refreshing to see only because in many found footage movies, mostly during the climax, you're pretty much yelling at the screen the whole time, "Why the fuck are you still holding the camera?" The acting was actually pretty good. It was pretty much a bunch of nobodies, with the exception of Scott Wilson, who played Herschel on The Walking Dead, and a bunch of horror veterans like Robert Englund, Zelda Rubinstein, and Kane Hodder during the end credit scene. The effects were obscured for the most part. You just mostly hear a sound effect with a little bit of blood. You can see it, but it's not like Evil Dead or something like that where it's in your face. The story is really interesting because it's pretty much built up to the third act, which then becomes a typical slasher film, which is only funny because we saw Leslie talking about them earlier in the film. It's sort of an in between story where we have our world of us making the movie and the world of the movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. Behind the Mask is pretty much this middle story between the two of the quote unquote behind the scenes of a slasher film. However, there are still plenty of twists and turns along the way that keeps it interesting. I highly recommend checking this one out only because it really deserves to be in the likes of the trilogy and to a lesser extent the Girls in terms of great black comedies about the horror genre. Check it out.